everyone. This is Waldorf.
And this is Statler.
And now we're going to look at the third installment of our rules explained in figures.
Ours?
Yes, I'm claiming it.
You're claiming it?
It's our third installment of their rules explained in figures.
There we go.
Is that better for you?
Yes.
Does that make more sense?
We would want to anger the ninth age folks. And
Why?
they could send like nasty emails and get us banned off of
Something. What?
something.
The forum, maybe?
Off of Google or something.
That wouldn't be good.
Saying we had extreme views.
Yeah, they could take away our monetization, which is none.
That too.
Congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
No. So we've already done 8. They're going to start with number 9. So let's bounce down there. Maximize base contact when charging around base. This is War Machine basing. Basically, it's showing you if you're charging with a single model, it's the same as it used to be, where you can just hit it any way you want as long as you do just a 90-degree wheel.
Yep.
And then if you're charging it with a unit, you have to line up so that both would be in contact if you extend
if you extend your center point.
out. So
Yeah. Or you maximize your models.
Correct.
I guess in that case it's only 2, but it could be
correct.
more.
Yeah.
And A3 kind of looks like he's running through the unit, but he's not.
What's this?
The charge for A3.
Oh, yes, because he
Yeah.
went all the way past it,
He
wheeled
went past
90,
it and went 90
clipped
and
the very
then
corner.
clipped into it. Yeah,
The very edge of it, I should say, not the corner. Round bases don't have corners.
that's true.
So anyway, yeah. The first part with the first row is what it used to be. The second row is just explaining to you that you do have to kind of line up on them
Right.
if you're with the unit. So, well done. This is, you'll have to read this one yourself. They're just talking about initiative order with a whole bunch of things. So basically, the unit B, the big thing in this is Unit B is the Court of the Damned, which gives everyone within 6 inches of it gets a -2 to their agility. And they're just pointing out that, here's your base agility, here's where the modifiers, and here's what you end up in. And these are the order everything ends up happening. And it also points out in here, which is important, that even if the Court of the Damned dies, it does not change anyone's initiative for that combat round.
Oh, okay.
Once your agilities are set, apparently, and I had not seen this before,
Yeah.
but according to this, once your agilities are set,
You keep them for the
You
rest
keep
of
them
the,
for the rest of that.
combat. Oh, I did not
and
realize
said
that.
the
Actually.
very last line down there,
Yeah. Okay.
the initiative order cannot be changed during a round of combat. And this came up a while back when what happened when something died. Like if you were agility 4, you brought down to agility 1.
Right.
On agility step, say 2, the thing that reduced your agility dies, so now you're agility 4, you've missed your turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons for not changing things, which I think is the better way. It works.
Okay.
But anyway.
But also doesn't mean you can't just charge the Frost Mammoth and hope it works out.
And kill the Frost Mammoth.
Yeah.
No. So anyway, but this is your nice chart. If you want to look through the whole thing, you can, but that's the basis of it.
Okay.
Okay. Making way. So the gray units in a combat, it got charged on 3 sides. Character 2 and Character 1. Character 1's an odd size, cannot make way anywhere.
Right.
Character 2, and it gives you all the information down here, has the ability to move to any one of these 7 spots.
Right. Anywhere from 1 through 7, because that's the front. It's being attacked from the front also.
It is. This is this kind of sneaky way to get Character 2 over here to fight the orange unit.
Right.
And if you put it in 3 or 4, it can fight the blue unit.
Yep.
So because of the gap in your line, and remember, this is something, it's also something that hasn't been really covered in anything, which would be kind of maybe a suggestion, but it's kind of covered here, is pulling casualties is in any way you want from the back rank.
Right.
So the only time you're limited is during combat, which we'll get to later, and from shooting, which requires you to do from each side if you're single file. Other than that, you're free to pull the back casualties how you want.
Yeah. As long as you do it rank by rank.
Oh, good point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, another hugely complex one. Overrunning. This is a pursue and overrun through friendly units, which we've talked about before. And the matter of what it's basically, as you can see here in the first diagram, all the orange units have all ganged up and charged this green unit here in the center. And what it's showing you is that if when the green unit breaks, and you do your pursues and your overruns, none of the orange units block each other if you roll high enough to get past
Because they're all in the same combat.
Correct. And this is kind of what it's doing and showing you that as long as you roll high enough to get past the other unit, you're fine. So stop and check that out if you want. And it's just one of those things that people are becoming more and more aware of.
Right. Well, go back. I'm sorry. And the overruns and stuff are important also. So in this
correct. In this case,
a couple things is like D.
Yeah.
He's overrunning across the front because he's doing an overrun.
Correct.
Because he's wiped out everything in front of him. Even though he's crossing in front, so nobody blocks anybody. But this might be counterintuitive to some people. Everybody else is going forward. He's going sideways. So
correct. He's doing an overrun while they're doing a pursue,
and it's all because they're all in the same combat and they can't get in each other's way.
Now, if for whatever reason, if green would not have broken, then the D could still do the overrun.
Yes,
but D would get stuck on A.
Right.
Because it can't get past A.
Right.
Because anyway, things.
You combat reform before or after overruns? I don't remember.
Overruns, I believe, are first.
I think they're first, aren't they? Yeah.
Next, our all-time favorite, the Break the Spirit spell.
Yep.
Here we have this is my unit here in the woods.
Yes.
And they cast Break the Spirit on me, and I'm like, that doesn't matter to me. I'm charging anyway. So I'm going to charge this unit on the hill. I'm going to take dangerous terrain checks. 1 for the woods I'm in. 2 for the open terrain, 3 for the next set of woods.
It's a different piece of woods.
And then 4, not for this open terrain because it's part of this one.
Right.
And then 4, anybody who touches the edge because the edge is on and just slightly back from the edge of the hill. So now my front rank will take dangerous terrain checks.
Right.
Wonderful.
This is one that I actually didn't quite understand originally because I thought it was for every change of terrain.
Right, which would have been one more here.
Would have been one more for the opening, but it's not. It's because it's all
for
part
every
of
piece of terrain.
Unless, like on the other side of a river or something.
Unless you had somehow the open terrain split in half by a river that ran the whole length of the board.
Exactly, which meant
open terrain is usually all one piece.
Right.
Yep, that is correct. So yeah, this would not be a very advisable charge to take because each one of these terrain checks you would be losing approximately a third of your models. Mm-hmm. So.
And then it also mentions that I think at the end of this about say the unit made it all the way to the hill and then it failed a panic check for the last.
Correct. Yes, and then you say then it's a new movement, so it takes checks again for the hill and for however the open terrain and forever how far if it gets into the forest through that as well.
Right.
So yeah, that unit is in terrible shape.
Yes, there's 3 guys left. Maybe.
When exactly does a unit overrun into another unit that is engaged in the same combat? Okay, so here we have B and D locked in around a combat, and C. A charges in to help, smashes C. At the end of that round of combat, it overruns into D.
Because
it's already one combat.
Because it's one combat. C is destroyed. It can't shift because there's nothing to shift to.
Correct.
So it has to do an overrun.
And would have to roll high enough to reach D to get there.
Right.
Now, there is another case in where if this happens and then in the magic phase somehow Unit C disappears, then this overrun that A can make, because there's no more foes, it can make an overrun in step 2, I believe it is. Yeah. It will be able to overrun at step 2 of the melee phase, so we'll end up in combat for this fight.
Right.
So it's just depending on when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it gets removed by magic or something weird.
Or if you're vermin swarm and you shoot it off.
Shoot your own. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, there's the rules for them. Explanation.
Right.
How do you perform a post-combat maneuver in multiple combats? Like the 3 units charged into D, they smash it. A pivots about its center. B and C, because you have to do them one at a time, neither one can reform except what they shown is it just turns around and face 180 degrees from where they were originally.
Right.
Because there's no pivot you can do that's not going to end up
Right.
overlapping.
Right, because you can't injure.
Right.
You can't force things away.
Can't force things away. And if you notice in this, there is no, at the end of the combat, you push your units an inch apart.
Right.
Yeah,
They stay there
that's
until they
been
move.
gone for a long time.
Yep.
Other options you can see, once they smash D, if A overruns and C overruns, now B's
then
free
B
to
can pivot.
wheel. There's all different types of ways
or
you
they
can
can all
do it.
overrun.
Right.
Yep.
All different ways to handle it. But
As
if
long
you
as
do
nobody-
something like this side by side, these two are not going to be able to
Right.
reform except it's a 180.
Yep.
Just something to be aware of. I see so many people hitting with a unit here and something beside it, and then they both end up forming,
Right.
pointing out this way, and I'm
It's
like,
you can't.
how did you do that? Oh no, you can watch, and then
Yeah.
pick it up and slide it to the right as they
Yes. Exactly.
pivoted. So anyway,
Yeah, the whole idea of picking it up and turning it across the middle and setting it back down, that people
right.
don't see how that pushes things out of the way.
How do you move a character casualty from an engaged single rank? In this case, you see the blue units fighting the orange unit. The orange unit has a character attached. If the blue unit causes a single casualty, they are forced to remove number 1, because this leaves the most units most models in contact.
Right.
But if they happen to kill the character, the green model, since it's a character, it comes off here.
Right.
Even though you don't take him off and shift
And
the
shoot
model
everybody
down.
over. Right. Right.
You just take the model off, is
Yep.
what they're saying. So I've seen a lot of people think you take this model, you would take this model, you'd remove the green one and shift the unit down.
Yeah. No, there's no shifting unless you're trying to do it at the end of a phase to keep people in combat,
Correct.
or if you're doing it on
It's
reform.
a combat reform is
Yeah.
the only way you can do that. But so just so you'll know, that's the way that works.
Yep.
How can units with random movement pivot in close proximity? So here we've got the 2 units. The green one has random movement. It's an inch away from A. It's the green's turn. It has to pivot and move.
Yep.
In the old rules, you would say, well, it can't move.
Yep.
The only thing it can do is go forward.
Yep.
Well,
Or
it
backwards.
pivot completely right. Well, no, because it had to spin in place the old way, and
Yeah.
couldn't do that. So the pivot is free, and it can overlap during the pivot. So basically, you can pivot 90 degrees like they did, and move. And as long as you roll high enough to clear this blue unit, you end up out here to the right somewhere.
Right.
If you don't roll high enough, you go back to the last legal position of the unit, which would be all the way back here.
Mm-hmm.
So you pivot this way, you try to move, you roll like a 3, you don't clear it, so you end up having to put it back to where it started. Here's another option they did. They turned around at an angle, and they're going to move away to the bottom left.
Mm-hmm.
B3 is an example of a illegal model, because in this example, when it pivots, it's still in its front facing this unit is still in its front facing, so therefore it counts as charging if it moves.
Right.
So it basically ends up being close to the same thing as this.
Right.
So yeah, you can't, because my question was, couldn't you do this like this, except facing to the top right, and just move right through it?
Yeah.
No, because it's in my front facing,
Right.
so therefore it becomes a charge. So
So the short form is as long as you're not staying both units in their front face, as long as it's not in the moving units front facing, they can pivot and overlap
correct.
and move away.
Yep.
If you try to pivot in any way and it's in the front facing, then you have to make a charge.
Yeah. If it was even longer, it could do something really weird and try to get try to do something here and move off to the right. Anyway, but as it is. Moving on. And then the last one we have is an army book specific rule. Can a unit wait to enter a gateway until after a character has joined the unit? This came up in a game. I actually posted this on the forum for them to answer. So what happens is there's a gateway marker and there's an orange unit and a blue character. So during their turn, the orange unit moves onto the gateway. It has the option at that point to go through the gateway or stay where it is.
Right.
It elects to stay. So the question, and the blue unit has the same option. If it just goes on by itself, it can stay or go wherever it pleases. So now the orange unit moves in, and then the character joins the unit.
Right.
And the question was, since the character has joined the unit and is ending its turn touching the gateway, can it now go through with the unit? Can it now pull the unit through with it because it's ending its turn on a gateway?
Right.
The answer, of course, you see the red X. No, you cannot.
Oh, okay.
Because the unit has already ended and therefore cannot go through the gateway. And the same example here, just making it clear, even though the unit itself was not even touching the gateway at the first, the blue came up, joined it, therefore forcing it to end its turn on a gateway, still cannot go through because the unit itself had already ended its turn.
Okay.
So just something to be aware of, because it was kind of a grayish area. Because when a unit joins a character joins a unit, it makes that end of game turn thing.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, I think they're doing a fantastic job with these.
Yeah, these are very helpful.
And they're very helpful in problems that you see a lot of. Oops.
Then we have a list of things they're working on.
And then, yes, coming up next, they're going to do movement of light troops. More examples for determining cover and how it applies with tall units, which is good. Accepting and refusing duels in multiple combats. And interaction of attack attributes and special attacks. This is good. It's not necessarily... It's going to be... Even though it's rules in a diagram, I don't think this is going to have a diagram. Interaction of attack attributes and special attacks does not require a diagram. It's just a better explanation.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, have to sit down and think about that. But yeah, okay. Well, I guess we'll find out when he posts it.
We will find out.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, they're up to a ton of these. They're up to page 21.
Yeah.
They've done a great job with these. Like I said, I applaud them for the work they're doing on these.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they make the rules much more clear.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many little subtleties, and it's easier to miss these things, and things like this are just really helpful.
Yep. All right. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Till next time.
Thanks for listening.